Yesterday, he'd walked 2 miles into town from the truck stop where the bus from the airport had deposited him. He'd come to New Jersey, expecting a landscape cluttered with fast food restaurants, gas stations, billboards, one big sprawling city with no houses, just industries belching smoke, highways intersecting at crazy angles, traffic endless in all directions. What he found was green, rolling farmland that could have been Iowa. He had come down over a hill, walking along a blacktop road, and there, in the midst of a Grant Wood landscape, was Greenwood. Or so the water tower said. He saw one gas station, Fred's Mobile, and one fast food restaurant, Frigid Queen, and a John Deere dealership, before reaching a single modest billboard that welcomed him to New Jersey's cleanest little city, courtesy of the Chamber of Commerce, 3 churches, and 2 fraternal lodges. Just past the billboard was a power and water facility and a sign that gave the population 6,000. Still on the outskirts, he passed 20 or so modern homes off to the left. The land was very flat here, the only trees looking small and recently planted and underfed. The lack of foliage was emphasized by the homes being spread further apart than they'd be in a similar development in a larger city. Crane's parents lived in a house like that, on the outskirts of Wilton Junction. None of this made him feel at home. Rather, he felt an uneasiness and had retreated to a motel, barely within the Greenwood city limits, without even phoning Mary Beth's mother to let her know he was in town. There he watched television till his eyes burned, none of it registering, but helping keep his mind empty of what had brought him here. He even managed to sleep, eventually. The next morning, this morning, he woke at 11 and called Mary Beth's house. He knew the funeral was at 1, but he didn't know how to get there. An aunt answered the phone and gave him directions. He showered, shaved, got dressed for the occasion, and sat in a chair and stared at a motel wall for nearly 2 hours. The wall was yellow, painted, not papered, and there was a window with an air conditioner and green drapes in the middle of the wall. There was also a crooked picture, a print, of a small girl sitting beside a lake under a tree in summer. It was a pleasant enough picture, but it bothered him it was crooked. He straightened it before he left to walk into town to the church for the funeral. The casket was open, and he'd overheard several people saying how pretty Mary Beth looked, and, inevitably, that she looked like she was sleeping. But Crane had seen dead people before, and none of them had looked asleep to him. The father of a close friend of his in high school had died in a terrible fiery car crash, and his casket had been open at the funeral, displayed up by the door as you exited, so you couldn't avoid looking at the admirable but futile attempt the mortician had made at making his friend's father look like his friend's father. He and his friend's father had spent 2 weeks, 3 summers in a row, at a lodge in the Ozarks. The lodge was more an elaborate hotel posing as a lodge than a lodge, and his friend's father, who had money from a construction business, the same construction business Crane worked for this and other summers, was generous and fun to be with. Crane had spent many hours with the man. But now, whenever he thought of his friend's father, he saw the face of the car crash victim in the open casket. So he did not go up to the front of the church to see Mary Beth one last time. In the future, when he thought of Mary Beth, he wanted to think of Mary Beth. The wood in the long, narrow Presbyterian church was dark. The stained glass windows, with their stilted scenes, let in little light. Even the minister, a thin, middle-aged man, was making his innocuous comments about this young woman, with whom he'd barely been acquainted, in a deep, resonant voice, its tones as dark as the woodwork. Right now he was saying something, a gentle person, thoughtful, kind, that might have pertained to anyone, outside of Adolf Hitler or Mike Wallace. And Crane's mind began wandering, and he glanced down toward the left, 3 rows up from him, at the back of the head of the blonde girl. Or woman.